Hey everybody, Michael Fabiano here from Sports Illustrated with my Fabs 5 trends you need to know from Week 6. Let's start off at number 5 with DK Metcalf. The absence of Russell Wilson has put a big damper on his value. In 4 full games with Wilson under center, Metcalf saw an average depth of target at 8.3. In last week's game against the Steelers with Geno Smith under center, that dropped to 5.3. So while Seattle didn't throw the ball any less with Geno under center, he did not go downfield to Metcalf, and that's going to be a problem until Russell Wilson returns. At number 4, the Ravens' backfield, folks. This is looking like an absolute disaster. It's like a who's who of fantasy football superstars from 2016. It's become a very confusing three-headed backfield monster between Latavius Murray, Devontae Freeman, and Le'Veon Bell. They all played at least 21 snaps last week, and they all saw at least 8 touches. That's a problem. If you have to start a Ravens running back, well, cross your fingers. It's probably Latavius Murray, but the Ravens have gone all in on 3 older backs, and that's not good news for fantasy managers. At number 3, Rondale Moore. Hey, he has great upside, right? But he's not seeing enough usage to be a regular fantasy contributor. He played only 22 snaps last week. That was 4th behind Nuke Hopkins, A.J. Green, and Christian Kirk. He also is 4th in terms of the wide receiver targets, and he's only found the end zone 1 time. So maybe you have to play him during Bye-mageddon, but Rondale Moore needs something to happen for him to have more value, maybe an injury ahead of him, because otherwise he will likely be bench fodder this season. Moving ahead to number 2, and Darren Waller. Hey, he put up a huge stat line in Week 1. We all loved it, right? 26.5 fantasy points. Since then, he has scored fewer than 12 fantasy points 4 times, and he's averaged 11.3 points per game. That ranks him 10th among tight ends and puts him behind Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz, Mike Gesicki, and Hunter Henry. Folks, that is not good. Now, Waller still ranks 6th in terms of targets per game, but he's 22nd in yards per catch, and Derek Carr is looking to his wide receivers more often this season. So far, Darren Waller has not been worth that 2nd-round pick that you took him in your fantasy drafts. And at number 1, let's talk about the Packers' backfield, right? It hasn't become a full-blown committee at this point, but the snap and touch shares are getting closer between A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Over the last 2 weeks, Dillon has played 46 snaps. He has seen 23 touches. Now, that's still behind Aaron Jones, but the gap is certainly closing. Dillon has also seen 6 red zone looks over the last 2 weeks, which is only 2 fewer than Jones. And Jones has only averaged 4 more carries a game than A.J. Dillon. So the good news is that Dillon now has standalone flex value during the bye weeks. The bad news, Aaron Jones is losing opportunities to his 2nd-year teammate. And that is my Fabs 5 trends that you need to know from Week 6. For all of the best fantasy football information and gambling out there, make sure you check out si.com/fantasy.